Welcome to our DayBreak Caregiver Adult Webinar. I'm Karen Kelleher, DayBreak Family Caregiver Support Coordinator. Today, you will meet 4 members of our weekly caregiver support groups. They have kindly agreed to share their experiences in caring for their loved ones in mental and or physical decline. Their stories are varied and individual in content. They speak to the challenges and experiences common to the unexpected role of caring for a dependent loved one in mental and physical decline. Their message is a message of courage, resiliency, ultimately acceptance in meeting a challenge that they could never fix nor make better. As you will see, we are forever changed by that which we are called to be present when we find that indeed life happens when we're making other plans. I would like to now introduce LaSalle. LaSalle, please let us know who you're caring for and what you have to share with us.
My name is LaSalle, and I am caring for my husband, John, who's been the love of my life for 35 years. 3 years ago, he suddenly became blind from glaucoma, severe glaucoma. And then 6 months after that, he was diagnosed with pure autonomic failure, which can cause malfunctions to heartbeat, circulation, swallowing, breathing. Really not a pretty picture. So,
I think for me, the 1-2 punch of the sudden blindness and then the fatal disease was pretty devastating. It felt like the sky was falling twice. I fell into a 3-month lousy depression. I then came up and out, but continued to experience ongoing anxiety, uncertainty, and exhaustion. There were times that it was so hard, I felt like my brain wasn't working, and that really scared me. But I'm grateful to know now that my brain can heal from trauma and be good as new. What was helpful for me, what really saved my soul, was this DayBreak caregiving support group. Karen is a superb facilitator, and it's incredibly therapeutic to share our stories with others in the same boat. What also helped was reaching out to friends and family, structuring my life through meditation, writing, therapy, working out, and napping with my cat, of course. I've learned that if you don't take care of yourself, caregiving can be traumatic and seriously affect your mental health. I learned you need to be feeding your soul with as much energy as you're expending caring for your loved one. For me, that includes being out in nature, booking a massage, going out for drinks with a friend, planning little getaways, sometimes just dancing like a fool. But the point is, self-care is not optional. It's mandatory for the well-being of you and your loved one. As caregivers, we're completely in uncharted territory, and our hearts are so fragile, but we're doing our best. It's important to cultivate self-compassion and self-forgiveness. Give yourself credit for getting through each and every day. After my husband was in hospice for 6 months, I had thought that my husband would be nearing his final days, but that didn't happen. He's still here. And because I had this expectation of when he would go, I realized I'd been postponing my life. Doctor appointments, buying new appliances, getting a car, planning a block party, and beginning to resent my situation. Big mistake. Do not postpone your life, and do not postpone whatever joy you can find in your life. Live your life as fully as possible, and you'll be a better caregiver for it. The hardest part for me has been seeing John in misery day after day. Everything is a struggle for him, from operating the remote control to finding the strength to get up off off the sofa, all laced with moans and muttered expletives all day long. We applied for end-of-life medication in case John decided to end his suffering at some point. At this point, he may not use it, but we both have a certain peace of mind knowing we have that option that gives him the dignity of deciding when he's ready to go. I think we've all learned that life is short and uncertain, that anything can happen. It's how gracefully you deal with it.
Thank you, LaSalle. I want to know how you're doing now.
I'm actually in a good place. I feel like I've built up some sturdy scaffolding to give structure to my life, and I'm doing my best to live one day at a time, despite the uncertainty and stress of just not knowing what's next.
Mhm.
I've learned that I'm much stronger and more patient, more compassionate than I ever thought. It's like this journey has been a master class in be here now. Sometimes I seesaw between being scared he won't be breathing when I open his door each morning, and on the other hand thinking, oh my God, he's never going to die. I do my best to maintain some kind of equilibrium, but I also reserve the right to fall apart at any point in the future if I need to. I say, believe it or not, I think my life is richer despite the hardships of caretaking. It's a feeling of going through hell, coming through the other side, having not only survived, but being better for the experience. I seem to be embracing my life more fully and feel better able to open my heart to others and to the world. Nothing like brushing up against death to make you realize just how precious and fragile life really is.
Oh, that's beautiful.
What sustains me is knowing I'm not alone in this arduous journey. Also, gardening, friends, design, laughter, open-heartedness, and even beginning to look ahead to my next chapter after he's gone. For me, creativity is the best antidote to adversity. I'm in a flow state when I'm creating. Time has no meaning and my focus is totally in the moment. I think the best thing I can tell you is find what feeds your soul. It'll be the best super vitamin for getting through this incredibly difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you, LaSalle. Thank you so much. We're going to move on to Nettie. Nettie, tell us who you're caregiving and about your journey as a caregiver.
Okay, hi, I'm Nettie, and I'm caring for my husband, Dave, who has more health conditions than I can remember at one time. He has bipolar disorder, which I'm happy to say has been stable for well over a year. But he has had psychotic episodes that were unbelievably challenging to deal with. In 2012, Dave's kidneys failed as a result of the lithium he was on for bipolar disorder. And since 2012, he's been on kidney dialysis. I pretty much gave up my editing career that I loved to help take care of him at that time. Then in 2019, Dave had a mild stroke, and in 2020, another one. In 2021, he fractured a hip, and in 2022, the other one. From the second stroke, he has Parkinson-like symptoms, but not the illness itself. He's currently walking with a walker, and out of the house, he's in a wheelchair. He needs help with almost all activities of daily living. And our latest challenge has been difficulty with swallowing and getting words out in speaking or in writing. When I learned that Dave had kidney disease, I wasn't feeling very close with him at the time. and I didn't really get it, what kidney disease meant. I thought, it's just his problem. Wrong. And when he began having cognitive decline, I took it personally. I thought he was stonewalling me because he was so minimally responsive to my sharings. But a major turning point came when a neurologist sent him to a neuropsychologist for more detailed cognitive testing. From that, we learned that Dave has delayed hearing processing, and that was a game changer. Instead of holding on to hurt and anger, I began to talk to him slowly, to ask him questions that he could just answer with yes or no. And when he needs to decide between a few things, I'll write out a questionnaire. And when he needed to make a medical decision, I wrote out the pros and cons for him to consider. Throughout the day, I pretty much narrate my life to him, my thoughts and feelings and what's going on in the world to keep us both engaged. Understanding what Dave can't do instead of it thinking that he's spoiled or lazy has made a big difference. I've learned to ask him what he can, if he can do something, and to trust his answer. We navigated through the bipolar episodes with the help of Kaiser Psychiatry, a private therapist, and National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, which is a wonderful resource. We've had part-time hired caregivers often since those times, and that's been really important too. After hospital times, having occupational therapists and physical therapists through home health gave us so much information we needed. I gradually learned that my anger and resentments hurt me more than anyone else. As an example, I really was resisting doing Dave's physical therapy exercises with him. But at a certain point, I committed to doing that. And it actually has become a really sweet bond and language between us. Some practical tools that have helped me are keeping medical notes in a spiral notebook, so I have them in chronological order. Getting up early in the morning, so I have some time to myself before the day hits me. Making phone dates with friends and family, since spontaneous rarely works for me, and listening to books via Audible on my phone while I'm doing repetitive chores to keep my brain active and keep me company.
Thank you, Nettie. Where are you now?
These days, Dave and I are deeply loving each other and enjoying being together. Still, I definitely suffer from lack of time to just do as I please and the weight of the responsibility for caring for him. A therapist once told me this 80-20 rule, that 80% of our energy should be focused inward towards our own experience and 20% out on others in the world. And I laughed because I was like at least 80% riveted on Dave and maybe 20% of my energy in me. I've been using caregiver time more often, paid caregivers, to give me blocks of time to do things on my own and with friends these days. And I'm trying to balance that, giving more energy to my life with not neglecting Dave or our relationship. This June, I took my first little vacation in 7 years, and I connected with myself and with some loved ones, and it was just fabulous. It also gave me more energy when I came back to give to Dave. And during one of these heat wave days, for a couple of days, I took him on day trips to cooler places, and we loved that. And some of what sustains me is walks. long, slow breaths, doing yoga when I can find a chance. And I've learned to appreciate slowing down and being present with Dave. Being in this caregivers group has become an essential godsend. And although Dave and I can't do much that we liked doing together before, we relish what we can do together. I've come to appreciate what we still have with each other, and he's still my favorite person in the world.
Thank you so much, Nettie. Thank you so much.
Thank
Serene,
you.
Serene, we're gonna go on to you. Who are you caring for? And tell us about your caregiving journey.
Hi, my name is Serene. My situation is a little different from the others you will hear. I was caring for my husband, whose name is Richard, and we have been married for 53 and a half years. I was caring for my husband up until about 2 years ago. Richard had always been a friendly and a protective person with everybody whom he met. He was attending a daycare facility for Alzheimer's participants and doing very well at all his daytime activities with his director and his group until an incident occurred between him and another participant. And he should have allowed the staff to handle the problem, but he did not. After a second occurrence within that month, the facility asked that he reduce his days from 5 to 3 days. A facilitator there recommended Richard be placed in a memory care facility and that they would help me search when I was ready to reach out for help. I noticed that Richard was getting more agitated in his sleep, and I felt very sad and alone as Richard was not able to say that, and I was feeling very sad. I never knew if he would act out in his dreams or if they would be his hallucinations or his nightmares. I barely slept at night as I couldn't tell whether he would be walking out the door or just in general be agitated. So therefore I had my son-in-law set up cameras and alarms in the house for his protection and for myself. His behavior became more erratic. At one point, he took down a window in our bedroom, a small window that was way up high, and he smashed it apart. And when I encountered him, he said, "Oh, it's a picture frame." And he didn't know what he was doing. Later on, he took wads of toilet paper and paper towels and stuffed it down the toilet. He even did it with one of his briefs. And countless times we've even called the plumber. One time he was so angry with me because I went into the bathroom, our master bathroom, to remove a dessert dish and a fork. He followed me into the bathroom and he grabbed the strings of my sweatshirt and the fork that I had in my hand, and he verbally accosted me. And he pulled the strings on the sweatshirt so tight that I was very afraid. So I broke free and ran to our other bathroom, and I locked the door, called my brother-in-law, and he came to my help within the next 40 minutes. My brother-in-law has a key to our home, and I watched from my camera, and I saw the interaction between the two. And my husband said, "Well, that didn't happen." He says, "I didn't do that." And from that moment, I knew I couldn't have him in the home after I spoke to our children, because he was confused and he didn't know what he was thinking. And this situation with the impetus was that he could no longer live at home. out of concern for my own safety as well as his own, because I didn't know whether he was going to go out and hurt somebody during his walks, because he used to go out all the time. So I contacted the daycare facility, and they helped me search for a placement for him for a day facility at a memory care facility, as well as a board and care. There was a nice board and care, but they were kind enough to let me know that they would put him on a wait list. So he was at a not boarding care, but a facility for a while, and then change of management happened. And let's just say there was a shortness in staff due to change of ownership and management. And one night he was wandering the hallways and walked into another residence room, and a confrontation happened. And it was because he couldn't find his way back to his room. And then that was the last straw for us, as when we talked to management, and they told us that, oh, we have only one person covering the memory care floor as well as the assistant care floor. And so I wasn't even aware of that. So it took us a while, but we got him out of there. And luckily, in the nick of time, the boarding care that had a space for him opened up, and they took him in. And he's in a better place. The board and care has 6 residents at their place, and they took very good care of him. He's close by in South San Francisco. It's not a one that you would call a castle, but it's clean, safe. He's not alone. He's it's nothing fancy. He's got home cooked meals. He gets his exercise. He gets his walks. He's relaxed, and he's smiling. He doesn't know who any of us are, doesn't remember us anymore, because unfortunately, when he was at the care facility, they just didn't take the time to nurture him, which is very sad. That's my take on where he's at now, but he's fine. As for myself,
That's wonderful, Serene. Where are you now?
right now, I am able to at least sleep at nights. My migraines are better. I wouldn't say 100%, but at least I am calmer. I still keep the alarms intact. I feel a little bit freer. Although I take care of my mom. She's 96, along with my sister. But that's okay.
Yeah.
I do take my walks now, whereas before I was not able to. This caregiver group has been a godsend. I'm not afraid to speak my mind or bring up my concerns and things that concerns me, or issues that I can't handle, is brought together as a group, and we can all discuss, and we can discuss and work things out.
Yeah.
And helpful. And I would say, don't be afraid to wear your heartstrings on your sleeves.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. Thank you so much, Serene. My goodness, what a journey. Gail,
Hello.
hello.
I'm sorry I had to run away, but my kitten was chasing a fly and she knocked an organ off the mantle. So
Oh, you know,
I anticipated
That's
future
will always-
destruction, so I had to exit her out of the room. My name's Gail, and my husband and I are together for 38 years. And 8 years ago, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease by the Veterans Administration. It later turned out to be incorrect because after a time, he was showing no signs of tremors, but his blood pressure was dropping 30 points from laying down to standing up, and that caused a number of falls. So they reevaluated him and decided he has multiple system atrophy, which mimics Parkinson's in the early stages. So it's a common misdiagnosis. And he was also diagnosed with some Lewy bodies and Parkinson dementia. And so that was 8 years ago. And about 3 years later, I found myself overwhelmed and frustrated and grieving for the loss of our relationship, not knowing how things were going to work out going forward, wondering how long I could keep him at home, which was my goal. Social life was, everybody was asking us to do things, but it was so hard to do things with him. We couldn't travel. And the MSA was progressing, and he was starting to experience some dementia. And then I saw a flyer for Caring for the Caregiver at the San Leandro Senior Center, and I thought, I'm going. And I've told our group many times that I expected DayBreak to tell me how to make this all stop. And I don't know why I thought they could do that, but it speaks for the stress, the lack of sleep, the lack of self-care that 24/7 caregivers experience. I mean, you hope for the moon, right? But by attending meetings as often as I could, which was usually about once a week, with what was going on here at home, over the next 5 years, I discovered how to cope. I learned about redirecting my husband's attention to different things. I learned about reframing my own role and asking for help. And other members' experiences were so valuable to me. And I had many aha moments when there was something that really resonated with me. And there's nothing more wonderful than feeling like you're not alone in a bad situation. And hearing their stories and hearing their experiences, it's like, okay, I can get through this. I've got other people who understand, because as much as your friends and family love you, they don't get caregiving until they're doing it themselves. It's just, there's nothing like it. So Karen and Susan, I guess it was I joined 5 years ago. 2 years later, I think it was 18 months later, Karen and Susan told me to look into a social worker. They said, I think it's time you look into a social worker with the Veterans Administration. And out of that resulted in a home health aide, who I always called Mrs. Doubtfire because she's incredible. She started coming 16 hours a week, and it gave me that time to take a nap, to run an errand, to do things, because I could be away from my husband and get these things done. She was also able to stay at my house full time when I needed a full time and when I needed a vacation. And so that was really wonderful. And then during this time, Karen, explained to us how to redirect our loved ones when they were in episodes of dementia or sundowning. And I learned UTIs could cause hallucinations. Who knew? I had no idea I never had a hallucination, but I had a UTI. So that was a big one, because when my husband was having a hallucination, it was really a UTI. And instead of feeling discouraged and so alone during these dementia episodes, I learned to receive my husband's statements with a sense of humor. And some of them were really quite funny. And usually when I would say, no, you can't get your driver's license, and this is why, then he'd say, well, can I have a cookie? And that would just make me laugh, And there were some pretty funny moments. And it helped me tremendously to approach it with a sense of humor instead of the sky is falling. I discovered I was also experiencing anticipatory grief at the loss of my husband that I had once known. And our member Sarah said, well, we're married widows. And that was another aha moment. I'm married, but I'm a widow. I'm married, but the relationship is no longer there. And that really helped. And it also helped me to reframe myself as I saw Shree taking care of my husband. And he even asked me one time, when are you getting married? And then he thought I worked for the VA. But then the next day he'd know who I was. I thought, well, I'm really his nurse now. So I became a nurse like Shri, and she showed me how to take care of him and how to do things that I didn't know how to do. And that just made it a lot easier. It eased the hurt, and it enabled me to approach the situation with more positivity. My husband started receiving hospice on January 23rd here at home, and he passed away 12 days ago. And he was at home and he was at peace. And because of this group, I have no regrets and no second thoughts about how he was cared for. I couldn't have done that without this group. I don't know how I would have made it through the last 5 years without Karen and Susan and the members of this group. And it's just made just a tremendous difference to me. I can't say enough how being in a support group like this will help anyone who's starting this journey or is in this journey. There's nothing like fellow caregiver support and the facilitation of Susan and Karen to get through this process, because it's not like anything else we'll go through. But with their help, it's totally manageable, and it can also be a rewarding experience.
Thank you, Gail. So where are you now?
I've decided that I'm going to remain in the group. I see myself in so many of you. I see new members with that deer in the headlights. I see that they're afraid or they're worried or they're stressed. And I want to support the others the way they've supported me. I want to pay this forward because I couldn't have done this without this group. And the members here are so important to me. And we had a new member the other day, and my heart just went out to her because she was me. She was me. And I know she wanted it to stop. And it looks like her husband has the same thing that my husband had. And I want to help her. And I also feel that with the others who've lost their spouses, like Sarah, I can learn more about myself as I navigate this new chapter without my husband.
Thank you so much, Gail. You know,
Yeah.
it's just such a joy to be able to know that you're not alone and that you can be authentically who you are at any given time. One of our members, I won't name her, but one of our members was having a wonderful aha and peace, and everything was just fallen into place, and her spirituality was just so comforting. And we all rejoiced in that. And she came back the next week and said, I'm in the dumps. And somehow we were able to say, you know what? This is all what it's about. It's about being authentic. It's about the joy. It's about the despair. It's about the fumbling. It's about the expertise. It's all of it. It's all of it. And I don't know any other coming together, any other community that can welcome people exactly where they are, accept them where they are, gently lead them if that's called for, but more than anything saying you're okay the way you are. And furthermore, the more real you are with us is the more real you'll be with yourself. And so it's kind of a coming back to ourselves and discovering that who we are is enough. And I think you heard it from all of from our 4 presenters. You've done the best you can. You've done the best you can. There is nothing on this earth that I think is more regrettable than saying goodbye to a loved one with regret. With regret. So when you learn to be real and show up the way you are, come as you are, and be supported in that, you're more accepting of yourself in totality, and the more you have to share. So it's a fantastic opportunity for us to come together and say, I get you. I get you. Your story is different than mine. You're not like me, but yet you are. And so we don't look at carbon copies. We look at connecting at the soul, connecting at the heart, and being real. And what a joy it's been to be a part of your journey, and it continues to be. And we so welcome those of you who lose your mates and lose your loved ones and choose, as Cleo did, as Sarah did, as Gail is doing, to come back and be with us. There's always more healing to happen. There's always more wisdom that you can share with someone else. There's always more you can learn about the depths of who you are. So it doesn't end when your loved one passes. That's another chapter. But I think the totality of it is that you are welcome for as long as you choose to be. And if you choose to step aside for a while, it's okay too. It's all good. It's all good. I'd like to open it up to any of our guests that might have comments or questions. We'd love to hear from you. Cleo.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to say that not only do we learn how to care for the person that we're taking care of, but we also learn that after the person's gone, that sometimes you have unresolved issues, such as what I had, and I didn't know where to go to get that kind of group or feeling, or even, your friends and your family, they don't really listen. So I just want to say thank you, Susan and Karen and all your group, because not only did I learn, at that time only had one child on you living with, living. And it also taught me that I needed to make a trust, because I'm thinking that if something happens to me, automatically she's just going to take over, and it just doesn't work like that, as we know. And if it wasn't for this group, I wouldn't have had my trust done and all the legal papers, whatever happens to me, Darlene's over, all that. So it's a lot of, it's not just caregiving stuff, it's nurturing my soul. That's what it's done for me. And I just want you guys to know that.
Well, and know that what you contribute to us, Cleo, is priceless. It's priceless. And it's interesting about our group, and you bring that up. We learn practical stuff.
Yes.
We learn self-care stuff. We learn caregiving stuff. We learn coping mechanisms. We learn all that. But there's also practical information that gets passed around that is helpful. So there's a dynamic that it makes me wish that communities at large could have this kind of support. Certainly we have the ground of being caregivers, but wouldn't it be lovely to have community be able to meet and communicate and nurture one another, because I think that's what we're all missing. Serene.
When you said coping mechanism, you were correct in all that. I was so angry at the very beginning when I had to deal with Richard's Alzheimer's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's at the severe stage now. And I was so angry, and I just didn't understand. And with all the talk and everything, now I understand more with, different classes and discussions. I understand, he can't help it. It's him. It's
Exactly.
can't help himself.
Oh, that's so true. I think one of the things that we learn early on as caregivers is to discern between can't and won't.
Yes.
Because in the early stages of dementia and decline, the oppositional energies that we encounter, it looks like they're being oppositional. They won't. He won't remember where his keys are. He won't take the garbage out. And when we slowly realize that because of cognitive decline, it's really can't. It's really can't. And it's so therapeutic and so important to be able to discern that difference.
Yeah, it's not his fault.
Yeah.
Because won't puts us in resentment. Can't has the opportunity to put us in compassion. So it's a giant leap.
Yes.
Yeah. Nettie.
I couldn't agree with that more. That's so true. And I just want to share a couple of things from two different ends of the continuum. Right away, on my first time of coming to this group, I felt so much comfort. This sounds perverse, but seeing that there are other people who have lives as crazy as mine.
You bet.
Yeah, I really felt kind of a shame around my friends until joining this group. And now it just feels different. I feel different about the whole thing that way. And then I want to thank Gail for sharing about her scuba diving trip, because you really were what gave me the window opening to have a vacation finally.
Well, Nettie, that was under your 80-20 rule.
Yeah. Just
When I heard
remember,
your
Nettie, you
80-20 rule, I
supported
said,
her in that.
yeah, 80% for me.
Gail did the math.
Yes.
Gail did the math. Yeah, self-care. We're taught, the self-sacrifice and the selfishness as an opposite, that self-care is primary for all of us. And, we're learning how to do that and give ourselves permission to say, hey, me too. So we're all in a learning curve. I learn stuff every day from you guys, and we learn from each other. And so it's a vibrant energy that keeps increasing, and it's delightful to be a part of. Any parting shots before we close?
Yeah, I have a quick question, if I may.
Yeah,
First
please.
of all, thank everybody for sharing your experience. Thank you so much, because you're right. Nobody knows a caregiver like a caregiver. And especially thank you to Nettie. Nettie, I have bipolar disorder, and I have had long-term lithium use. And I got to tell you, when you said that kind of really scared me. So quickly, how long was your husband on lithium, if you don't mind sharing?
I'm not sure I'm remembering right, but it probably was about 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like at 17 or 18 years now. I'm going to reach out to my doctor and just kind of maybe run that by them, because thank you. You kind of got my antennas up.
Oh, good. Yes, there definitely are blood tests that check your creatinine level, and
Okay.
I forget what the other thing is. And Dave's psychiatrist, who was a private one at that time, did not keep
Okay.
of that. So you can definitely help yourself by being sure you're getting tested for your kidney function.
Okay. Thank you. And I'm so sorry that he had to go through that. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Take good care.
And just a reminder, we have each other's phone numbers, and we encourage you to keep in contact with each other throughout. We have 3 caregiver support groups that we meet per week, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We encourage you to keep the communication open. We are a community that nurtures and inspires one another, and it's really good to keep that door open. on an as needed basis. We're going to close for today.
Can I say something before
Oh,
we
yes,
close?
please. I'd love to hear from you, Susan.
Great. Yeah, it's wonderful to see you all. I love the work that you all are continuing to do, that I was a part of. And yeah, supporting each other is what life's all about, community and not being alone. I think that's so essential. I wanted to just say our next webinar next month, we're going to have caregivers who have been in the group and are still in the group share their experience at being post caregiving, where they are at now, and how does what they did, how do they process that, what did they need to go on, and where they're at. I just wanted to take a minute to say that we're going to follow up this webinar with that next month, and that's August 24th, I believe, but we'll be sent. Yes, Cleo, you're muted, please.
August 28th, you said.
Right on. Thank you. Yes, here's the calendar. You're so right. Yeah. And let's see, we have two folks here that will be sharing. And there's one other person who was a part of the group for a long time and really shared many things that were very helpful. I think it will be exciting to see where this particular person's at who hasn't continued to be in the group, but is still a treasured member.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How he's doing.
Absolutely. And we send out a newsletter after every group so that those who don't or can't participate in the groups per se are still part of the loop. We want you to feel included. We are inclusive. You're welcome to join whenever you wish. You're always going to be welcome. So I want to thank our contributors today for being so kind as to let us into your private process and sharing the wonderful realizations and the struggles that made your caregiving experience what it was. We'll say goodbye for now. Be sure and gear up for Susan's webinar in August, the 24th. Yes.
8th.
26th, 28th, something like that. Be sure to watch for the announcements so you don't miss it. So thank you for joining us, and we'll say goodbye for now.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Love you
Yeah.
all.